So I actually got into photography by accident.
Oh, really?
All through high school, and I went to college and got my associate's degree in computer graphics. So I was really looking to do computer graphics job. Mm-hmm. And this was back in the 90s. Hate myself. But,
one of the best eras, man. One of the best eras.
Yeah, exactly. I decided to join the Marine Corps and in 99. And after boot camp, they're like, oh, by the way, you're going to become a photographer. I was like, oh, I have no clue.
Wait, while you were in the military?
Yeah. So I learned photography from the Marine Corps.
And that's interesting because you actually have an eye for it. You didn't have an interest in it whatsoever before then?
No, I had no idea about photography beforehand. Like I said, I was more into...
Ooh, it feels so good to be back. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Side Project Podcast. Yes! You know it. Let's take a sip from our Run It Up mug. I need that water, man, because it is hot. It is so hot. I feel like it's pretty much hot everywhere. I saw today, as of this recording, I saw today that it was in Arizona, like 117 degrees or something like that, 115 degrees or something like that. I don't know, whatever it was, but that's insane. People out there cooking eggs on the cement. It's really hot here. I got the AC off because I don't like it on when I'm recording because then it makes noise. I do kind of have a small fan running, so we'll see how that works, but I don't think you can hear it. So I'm going to probably sweat this entire episode, but you know what helps when you have really hot weather is heading on over to the Side Project merch store where you can get all the brand new tanks and tees and everything that's available on the Side Project merch store right about now, such as the Project Hub tee that you can get right now. And you can also get the Project Hub tee in a tank. And then you got the, let's see, which way do I go? Which is the best way? Look at this. You got the Project Lodian tee. I don't think it's available. Did I put that as a tank? I can't remember. I got to ask Chario and Chasper if you saw that. You know, the freak of nature Chasper was wearing the Project Lodian tee available on the Side Project merch store right about now. I feel like a game show announcer. You know what I mean? Come on down. What's that one? Oh man, what was it? Like Wheel of Fortune, right? Didn't they used to do that in Wheel of Fortune? They were like, and Jimmy is a fast food worker. Come on down. You know. Anyway, yeah, all the tanks are available right now. Did you guys see? Did you see the new merch store? The new merch store is just popping. It's popping off like fireworks. Wow! We got the thin strap tanks, we got the thick strap tanks, and all kinds of other stuff. And everything that you see here, that you see me rocking, what you see me sipping from, is always available on the Side Project merch store, including the mugs, the Run It Up mug, the Project Park mugs, the Project Things mugs, and we've got the new mugs, though. I don't have them here right now, but I should have them by next episode. But we got the new mugs, the black ones. I don't think some of these aren't available in white anymore. They're still white up there, but some of them aren't available in white anymore. Most of them are switched to black. The ones that are available in white, they have like dual colors now. It's totally cool, man. I love it. And so like the Run It Up one, you could have like a red handle if you want it, and then like a red on the inside, but white on the outside. And then I think Project Things is in black. I can't remember exactly. And then we got new sizes too, like new ounces. I think it's like a 10 ounce for some of them, a 12 ounce for others, and then other designs have like a 16 ounce as well. And there's all kinds of really cool stuff up there, man. And I appreciate to the people that when I first announced the new merch store that went out there and copped them, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate it. But anyway, let's get into the bread and the butter of this week's episode, because my guest this week has an eye for creativity, a touch of creativity through the eyes of a lens and digitally with the stroke of a pen, so to speak. My guest this week is a staple in the cosplay community, helping to take cosplayers and elevate them to the next level with his photography skills, providing a place to capture the detail of each portrayal, helping to take cosplayers and elevate them to the next level with his digital art skills, creating edits, composites, and placing brought-to-life characters into scenarios that otherwise might not be possible, whether it be characters that exist within the Marvel Universe or portrayals from the often darker superhero counterpart with DC Comics, or maybe it's cosplays ripped from Star Wars or even video games, because my guest this week provides a special craft that is phenomenally done on location or even in convention grounds, to name a few, which Speaking of, fresh off the heels of Cosplay World Richmond, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a long time coming. Let's put our hands together and give a warm welcome to Bryant Cox Photography. How's it going, man?
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Oh, yeah, of course, man. It's been a long time coming, dude. I'm stoked to finally have you here, dude. We're both fresh off the heels of Cosplay World Richmond, man. And it was just a great time. It was great to finally meet you in person there and talk with you about several things. And we had kind of already talked about you coming on quite a while ago, but we definitely 100% solidified it when we were there talking in person, dude. It was great to meet you, man.
Yes, sir. Yep. It was definitely a good time. Definitely an awesome show. It was great to have so many different people come from all over the world and get together and see all the different cosplays that everybody's done, and then also the media people like us, trying to capture it all.
I know. I was running around like crazy, man. And then that moment that I just wanted like a few hours to cosplay myself, and everybody was, and I'm not complaining, but like, and everybody was coming up to me like, yo, are you going to get out of cosplay? I'm like, dude, let me have my moment. You know what I mean? Give me like 1 hour. Let me walk around as Ezio for a little bit. But no, on the flip side, I'm just kidding. That's actually awesome. It's cool when people come up to you and they want to create, because I'm there. That's what I'm there for, to create. You know what I mean? Yeah. And to experience with everybody and create with all these people that you, just like you said, everybody in one place that you kind of get to meet for the first time if you didn't meet them before, and create content with them, just like you shooting them if you haven't shot them before, and getting to create these moments, man, whether it just be the photography or all the edits you do. But aside from that, man, I got a lot of things that I want to talk to you about, man. You want to dive into it?
Hey, let's go.
Let's do it, man. Aside from just cosplay photography, I know that you partake in other avenues of the craft as well, such as wedding photography, for instance. But I'm curious how you kind of got your start in general and how it transitioned into such a prominent role within the cosplay community. Because doing a little bit of a deep dive on your Instagram, it seems that you've been doing photography for quite a while. But those first few photos that were posted that existed within the cosplay community seemed to be around 2019, which shortly after those first few shots, it seems to kind of taken off much more as far as social media goes, such as with Fairfax Comic-Con, for instance. And then thereafter, it looks like your page started to become much more cosplay centric over time, fast forwarding to the style, the likeness, the work that we commonly see from you today. So what was your journey and background with getting into photography, and then like what's the how it got to and the when of it becoming a part of the cosplay community as well? So
I actually got into photography by accident.
Oh, really?
All through high school, and I went to college and I got my associate's degree in computer graphics. So I was really looking to do computer graphics job. Mm-hmm. And this was back in the 90s. Hate myself. But
one of the best eras, man. One of the best eras.
Yeah, exactly. I decided to join the Marine Corps and in 99. And after boot camp, they're like, oh, by the way, you're going to become a photographer. I was like, oh, I have no clue.
Wait, while you were in the military?
Yeah. So I learned photography from the Marine Corps. So from 99 to 2003, I was a combat photographer, even though I didn't see any combat, but I was a combat photographer.
That's interesting.
And basically just learned the basic skills of how to use a camera. And then when I got out in 2003, I'm originally from Missouri, so I'm a Virginia transplant. Stayed in the area and worked at some local photo studios and learned more about portraiture work and lighting and all that stuff to kind of help develop the skills, basically. Right. And then was doing, like I said, weddings, events, portraits. And then I guess it was, like I said, 2019, 2018 was when I went to like Fredericksburg Comic-Con. Yeah. And I kind of just brought my, at the small local show here, brought my camera. Took a couple haul shots, just stopping someone, say, hey, can I take a photo? Yeah. And then I was like, this is kind of cool. Why did I think about doing cosplay photography before? Because, I love movies. I love comics. Yeah. So I was like, okay, so let's kind of figure this out. So then, went to Fairfax, and I think those are the first ones I posted on my Instagram was the Fairfax Comic-Con ones. Right. Again, just doing haul shots and kind of just doing them just to kind of do it. And then around 2019, I was like, well, how can I actually do this as a business instead of just doing it for fun? You know what I mean? Because we all want to do stuff for fun, but hey, why not make money while we're doing it, right? Yeah, I think the goal in life is to do what you love for a living, and the key word is a living. Yeah, exactly. And that's where I kind of switched my Instagram to more just cosplay stuff and just kind of let the other stuff, events, weddings, kind of just word of mouth advertising, just kind of let that take place itself. And not really put the social media aspect on all that stuff, and kind of just use the social media for more of the cosplay community. What I decided to start doing was, instead of, which we'll probably get more into this later, was instead of just going to the show and booking sessions or trying to do hall shots, is like, well, why can't I set up a photo booth basically at these shows? Yeah. And be what they call a vendor and offer my services that way. So
interesting, dude. That's insane, actually, that you got into it kind of like by accident. It's weird when stuff like that happens, because a lot of people just kind of fall into things that I talk to, especially in this community. Like sometimes even cosplayers, they're like, well, I didn't really plan on it. And then I just kind of went to a convention and my friend was like, here, put this on. And then I just became a cosplayer and now I'm here. Like I hear a lot of random stories like that, but the photography one, just kind of being thrown into it within the military as well. That's a crazy story. That's a first. I've never heard anything like that. And that's interesting because you actually have an eye for it. You didn't have an interest in it whatsoever before then?
Nope. I had no idea about photography beforehand. Like I said, I was more into learning computer graphics, because that's really what I wanted to do. Because when I was in high school, Adobe came out. I guess it was out for only 3 years. I'm really dating myself. So my art teacher was like, hey, there's this cool little computer program that you can do art with. So I was the only student. I basically learned myself and then taught the art teacher how to use the program.
No way.
So, yeah.
That's
I grew up in a small school,
dude.
Small town. So that's really what I wanted to do, was computer graphics.
Yeah.
And
that's
then,
interesting,
like I said,
man.
The Marine Corps was like, no, you're going to be a photographer. And like I said, I fell in love with it and been doing it ever since on the side. But actually having that background of computer graphics is actually what really helped me do what I do today. And that's with the digital compositing.
100%. And that's what I was going to ask, because you kind of touched on it, but let's dive a little bit deeper into it, man. Because like about what year would you say that was when you kind of got into the digital editing aspect, when that kind of came into play, and especially in the sense of these crazy composites that you're capable of doing, such as this Scorpion edit of Revis 98, or previous guest and cosplay of the week, Foggy Night 14's Batman punching the Joker, which I believe it's you as the Joker in that shot, right?
I'm the Joker in that one. Yeah.
A shot that Foggy and I detailed a little bit further way back during his episode appearance. Or even something like placing Rufio cosplay and Pinoy cosplay. Forgive me if I'm mispronouncing anything throughout this episode, by the way. Mario and Luigi in this apocalyptic Mushroom Kingdom setting, which is amazing work, man. From everybody, your edit and the cosplayers as well. I'm a huge Nintendo fan, so I really love that, man. Was editing something in this capacity that you always partook in? I mean, I know you kind of said that you were always interested in it, but at what levels? And was this a learned technique once you became further engulfed in the cosplay community, like the way that you do it now? Like, what's the whole story behind your editing aspect?
When I was like, as a vendor, if I just do portrait work, I can just do that in the hallway, right? I just find a nice area, change the lighting, and guess what? I have a portrait studio. Yeah. So I was like, as a vendor, I was like, I have to offer something a little bit more than just a pretty portrait. Yeah. Yeah. So that's when I was like, well, let me do this compositing stuff. So I actually went online and kind of looked at other cosplay photographers and artists that did compositing, and was kind of like, I really like that style, or like, I like how they do this. And then just kind of reached out to some of them and asked if anybody does any training, any one-on-one. So I actually did a whole year's worth of training with Ryan Sims Photography.
Oh, no way. Shout out to Ryan Sims. Yeah, everyone knows Ryan.
So I joined the Patreon, and basically I would do one-on-one lessons with them, because there's just certain techniques that you're not really aware of unless someone points it out to you, and you're like, you need to fix this, or you need a color match, or you need to do these little nuances, because when you look at it, you're like, there's something off about that photo. There's something off about it. Yeah. And they're like, well, that's because the person's one color tone and your background's a different color tone. So your eye's not making you believe that it's part of that same photo. Right. Yes. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. So doing that one-on-one really helped me learn those little things that help me get better at what I did, which, after I did that full year of training is when I decided to do the vendor photo booth, which was, I think, 2020 maybe was the first one. I don't remember. It all blends together. Right. Yeah, I bet. but I started out only doing my first year. I think I did only 3 or 4 shows as a vendor with my photo booth. And I think now I roughly do 24 shows a year.
Oh, wow, dude. That's a lot.
Close to it, something like that.
Yeah, that's a lot. And I mean, it's phenomenal though, dude. The work that you do is just, it's just insane, man. I really love the Mario one a lot. Not to say that, of course, all of it is amazing. Like the Scorpion that we threw up, and then the one with Foggy is out of control. And for anybody that doesn't, I mean, you could touch on it if you want to. Actually, yeah, let's, because that episode was quite a long time ago. And I know there's people that probably never even saw that episode, and Foggy detailed it a little bit. But do you remember that shoot? Can you walk us through just a little bit of you like jumping in the Joker suit and everything?
Yeah, so we were doing this Batman shoot, and usually when I shoot with Foggy Knight, he comes over and we shoot my studio, the garage. So Studio G,
Studio G. That's good.
But so we usually do usually an hour and a half long shoot. And, just doing different poses, and because he uses a lot of my base photos and sends them off to other people to do composites. Right. Because in order for composites to really look good, you have to have a good base with proper lighting, and it's never easy to do I'm going off track here, but it's never easy to do a composite when someone says, "Hey, I got this photo that I was taking outside on a sunny day, but I want to be composited into a dark alley at night." Yes. And you're like, "Oh, wait a minute, that's a totally different lighting situation."
Yeah.
Anyway, so and I do Halloween big at my house, so I had this Joker mask I bought like 5 years ago, and he goes, "Dude, you gotta wear it, man. We gotta do a photo." But I'm like, okay. So like I grabbed my jacket I had, put the mask on, and then basically I'm laying back on a bench, and I was remote shooting with an iPad. So the iPad was on the ground. Yeah. And basically I just hit the shoot button with my finger on the ground and said, and all right, hopefully these worked out.
And you got to get creative.
So then I just, after I did that, just did all the compositing work where I cut us out, put us on that background, added the fire and stuff like that. It's amazing. And the actual photo, the lighting that's on us was actually done in the studio. So I just put a color gel on one of the lights that, give that mimic of the glow from the fire. It's just a lot easier to do.
Interesting.
Instead of doing it in camera, instead of trying to do it all after the fact. If you can, add those gels to add more realism to it.
That's something I was going to mention is the lighting is perfect from, like you said, on the side there of like the body and the face of Batman, and then with the fire over there. And I was going to ask if you did that later, or if you did that in the moment. And so with you doing that in the moment and then adding the fire layer, did you like already have an idea of what you were shooting when it came to the edit, to the composite, or did you guys just shoot that and then you figured it out in editing later?
So that one was a little bit of both. I had a general idea. I knew I wanted fire in the edit, the composite, but I didn't know exactly how it was going to be set up per se. Right. But I knew I was going to add fire in there at some aspect. So that's why we added those color gels to it. So, but yeah, if I know in advance exactly what they want for a composite, then it's easy to set up the lighting that way to get it exactly how you want it to look. Right. But if not, it's not that hard to edit additional lighting and add different color tones to the edge of a person to mimic that lighting. So it's still doable even if you don't do it in camera.
Amazing, man. I love it. That's always one of my favorite photos and edits of yours. I remember the story vividly from when Foggy told me everything, like how you guys did it and what you just said. That's one that I never forgot, man. And something else that I love too is this X-Men art piece, this recreation of Magic and Colossus that you turned into an edit for Sarah Starshine and DJ Dave. And I'm a huge fan of Colossus personally, and Magic is underrated. And it's just great to see this brought to life. And I've got a 2-part question for you here. When it comes to these type of edits, are they usually something that a cosplayer will discuss with you ahead of time that they want, which you kind of touched on a little bit, or is it, your ideas that come to fruition? Like, how does that work? And then whether it's a cosplayer asking for specifics or not, I've seen you discuss things before with your edit work, like this edit that you see here is an option C edit. So this would mean that there's levels to your editing. So how does that work, and what do those options entail?
Yeah, well, actually, so when I'm set up at a con, I have my little form here. Nice. And basically, I try to have it tiered from basic shoot, which is just a plain photo on my standard. I'm using a black background right now, just a nice portrait, and then goes all the way up to a full composite, like the one you're looking at or that one, I don't know if you showed it, but the Colossus one.
Yeah, it's probably
where I design a whole thing, that specific cosplayer, what they want. And then in between is a option where I have pre-made backgrounds that are up on my wall. So people can look at it and say, oh, this one works for me. I'll just use this one. And it saves them. And it's just, we all understand money, right?
Yeah.
Love to spend. We would love to spend the big bucks, but I understand because I have kids. I know that I can't just drop, a big $50 or $75 or something on one photo and be like, okay, that's great. Yeah. So that's why I have the lower price points to allow them to still get a professional photo. Because to me, everyone that comes to these cons that works hard on their cosplay should get a professional photo.
Yeah,
period.
100%. Yeah.
And that's why I keep my prices down for that aspect. And then the other option, which you said, option C, is just kind of like I add atmosphere, smoke too. Instead of just being a plain black, just adds a little bit more effect to it. Yeah. But for compositing, I would say 50-50, and if it's my idea or their idea. So sometimes a cosplayer comes up to me like, I want this, and like shows me a photo.
Right. Yeah. Like a recreation, or even maybe for the certain graphics.
Yeah, the recreation. Yeah. Because if you're a comic book collector, you see that cover art and you're like, oh God, that's so awesome. And then the cosplayer that cosplays it, like, oh, that'd be so cool to recreate that. You know what I mean? Because that's what you're doing. You're recreating the artwork that you love. So I do have people that bring me exactly what they want and say, this is what I want. I want to mimic this cover. Yeah. And I just pay them like, well, I'm mimicking it. So it's not going to be exactly the same. There's certain things that I'm capable of and some things I'm not capable of. So I'm going to get it as close as possible how you want it. Yeah. I have some cosplayers when I do the full composite that just says, I don't care. Make it look cool.
So, they just want to see what you come up with. They trust you. Yeah.
So I'm like, okay. The only things I really get specific about is superpowers, power sets. Right. Because to me, if you don't do that correctly, then you're not reflecting that character they are. So lightsabers. What color do you want your lightsaber to be? Yeah. Yeah. When I use my flash, it kills the ambient light, so I always have to bring it back. So
that's funny. I was gonna mention that real quick too, if I may, because when I had Jeff Jenkins on, we talked about that on the episode, and then at the panel that we did at Cosplay World, Jeff was on the panel, and I had him reiterate that from the episode because I thought it was such an interesting topic. So I actually wanted to just touch on it very quickly with you, but you kind of just said it was, lightsabers or cosplays that have a lot of lights on it. Like, how do you go about that? Because Jeff touched on it. He said it's kind of difficult sometimes having to deal with all the lights and your flash of the camera and this and that. And then, Jeff's kind of a photographer that does not do composites, and he also tries to not do too much editing. He tries to pride himself on doing as much as he can from just the camera itself. And there's nothing wrong with either aspect. So talking to someone who does edits and does composites, I'm curious, like, your way of going about shooting a cosplay that has a lot of lights, and if it troubles you in ways that it troubled Jeff, being that you do more editing, you're more comfortable with it. Yeah, so I've learned a technique. I take a photo with my phone to show where all the LED lights are and what colors they are. If it's a lot, usually if it's just like one little thing, I just make a note on my form, say, hey, he has a LED light on his mask or something like that, or he had LEDs in their chest. So I bring all that back digitally. Which I feel bad because they put all that work in their cosplay for the LED lights. But even if I reduce my flashes and use the ambient light, the convention areas have such horrible lighting that's going to spill on them anyway, and they're not going to like how that looks. So it's one of those give and take. So I always tell them, like, sorry, these flashes are going to totally kill your LEDs, but I will bring them back so it looks like the LEDs that you work so hard in putting in. So I hate that I have to do that sometimes. Just because I'm in that crappy situation. Now, if we were shooting in a darker location, then I can control that a lot more and really let those LED lights shine. But when I'm set up as a vendor, I'm stuck in one spot, so I can't move. So, you got to deal with what you have there and make it work. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's interesting, man. It's so interesting to hear, like, especially when I get to talk to like people who do similar things, such as photographers, such as editors. I've had people who aren't photographers at all. They're just compositors, so they're always dealing with other people's photos and other people's work. And it's just so interesting to hear. And you're someone who does both. So it's very interesting to hear your side of things when you do both. And then I've had people on that only do one or the other, you know? And so it's interesting to hear like all the different tactics and techniques and the ways that they do things and the differences and then the similarities between all of you guys as well. I find it personally fascinating. And then I actually got the opportunity to shoot with you, which I'm super thankful for, man, by the way, in my Ezio cosplay. So I finally got to experience. I got the Bryant Cox experience and experience your setup and how you do things at at conventions and stuff. And I want to touch with you. I want to touch with you. I want to touch on that with you. I don't want to touch you, Bryant. We're good. I want to touch on that with you a little bit more. But before we do that, let's break up the monotony and let's get into this week's Cosplay of the Week. Oh, and this week's Cosplay of the Week is none other than just Yelise. And I'm throwing it up on the screen right about now. Get over here now. And it is of her, Scorpion. And the caption says, I am Scorpion, the fire to your ice. I love this. This is absolutely phenomenal. This is sponsored by WB Games and Mortal Kombat. The photo is by, I have no idea how to pronounce your name. I'm so sorry. The photo is by Tristan Dudine. I'm not quite sure. Please correct me. Dudine, Tristan.Dudine.photography on Instagram. And this is phenomenal. I had the opportunity at Cosplay World Richmond by the time this comes out, what is it, like a week ago? I think it's still a week ago, yeah. Maybe like 2 weeks ago, a week and a half, I don't know. Either way, at this last Cosplay World Richmond that just passed, I had the opportunity to see this in person. And when I tell you that it looks just as phenomenal in person as it does in these photos, I mean it. Like, this is one of those cosplays that whether it's a photo, whether it's a composite, whether it's in person, it looks the same and phenomenally so. It's just beautifully done. And I don't know if this specific one, correct me, Yelise, if I'm wrong, but I think she made this herself, because I know she makes a lot of her cosplays herself, but it's not written in the caption that I have up here on this one. Maybe it is in other photos, but I only grabbed this one, so forgive me. But I think she made this herself. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's phenomenal from head to toe. I love the fact that you have the ropes on the belt as well. Just the armor, the crazy armor, and the armor is super detailed. Like, for instance, in the head area on the skull up there, super detailed. In person, you can see it. I mean, if you could zoom up when you're watching this, or just go to her Instagram, you'll get even higher quality, and you'll be able to zoom up and see all the just the little, like, I don't know what to call them, just the little details, the little rivets in the head and in the chest piece and the shoulders and everything else. It's just phenomenal. And on top of it, be on the lookout. By the time this episode comes out, it probably won't be out, but be on the lookout, because I got the opportunity to work with Yelise and shoot Yelise, and we did a couple different, I'm just going to put it like this. We did a couple different scenes, and I'm so stoked to edit them. I glanced through them, and I feel like they look amazing, so I'm hoping that it'll resonate with you guys. It's absolutely phenomenal. And before we get out of here, I want to throw up another one, and I'm throwing that up on the screen right about now, and it is of her Reptile. We're keeping it in the Mortal Kombat universe here. The caption says, it is unwise to threaten me. I'm not going to try to do the Reptile voice. I can't do the Reptile voice, depending on which game it's from, but you kind of know. Phenomenal. This is amazing. Cosplay made by her. This one says it. Photography done by Tristan again. Just amazing. Just speechless. Just beautifully done from head to toe, as well as the photos, Tristan, as well as the photos. Kudos to you on all the photo work and the editing work. If you did any editing work, or if you managed to do a lot of that in camera, phenomenal job. Your Reptile, Yelise, is amazing. I love everything about it. The leather pouch on the leg there. I love the wraps, the arm wraps, perfectly done. The mask, I really love the mask a lot. And then the shoulder piece there, the one that's a little bit more shown and pointed at the camera. I love it. Just phenomenal. Yelise makes a bunch of amazing cosplays. You got to go check all them out. A lot of them exist, not all of them, but a lot of them exist in the Mortal Kombat universe, and I'm a huge Mortal Kombat fan. So you and I, Yelise, we're going to have to play some Mortal Kombat sometime, and I'm going to have to kick your ass. I'm just saying it. I'm coming for you. You want to put some money down on it? Because I got you. I'm coming for you. Let's play some MK9 so I could be MK9 noob, because I love MK9 noob. We have guest this week, Bryant Cox Photography on the show. In case you're just watching this on Instagram and you didn't tune into the full episode, please go do so, because we're talking with Bryant about his photography. We're talking with Bryant about his digital editing. We're talking with Bryant about convention work. And we're both just coming, all three of us actually, are coming off the heels of Cosplay World Richmond. So I don't know if Bryant got to work with Yaliz, but we'll see right now, because Bryant, I'm going to ask you, do you have anything to add before we wrap this segment up?
No, just awesome job on both of them, because like you said, all that detail work in her cosplay is awesome. And photography wise, I'm pretty sure that was all done in camera with a fun little smoke machine.
You think so? You think so?
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. I mean, don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure.
Great job.
But yeah,
Great job.
It's awesome work though.
Did you get the chance to shoot?
No, actually, I did not. I tried to photograph every single cosplay guest, but there's 30 of them. So
okay,
and plus, there's a lot. Plus, I was open for business for the regular con attendees, so I was trying to squeeze them in. And I think she was one of the two that I missed.
Oh man, okay, yeah.
And by the time I had availability, I think she was already out of cosplay. So it happens.
Yeah. No, 100% though, man. If you're not following Just Yaliz on Instagram, please go follow her right now at just YELIZ, because Just Yaliz, your Scorpion and Reptile from Mortal Kombat cosplay of the week for me and Bryant Cox Photography is amazing. Phenomenal work, awesome. Man.
Mortal Kombat characters are great to photograph.
Yes, dude. I know, man. I love it, man. I love it, dude. I'm so stoked to release the stuff that I got to work with her on, and a few other people who, as of right now, will remain nameless, because I want to leave it as a surprise, because we're kind of telling a story in those videos that we did. Brian, I want to throw a little bit of a curveball at you, and I want to get into a segment that I like to call Wow, Shotgun Questions. And what Shotgun Questions is a little bit more of a rapid fire segment than the questions that we've been talking about and answering. Let's see if we can get rapid fire. We never know how a rapid fire we're really going to get, because we usually end up having a little bit of a conversation about them, and that's okay. It's all fun and games. It's nothing serious. Sometimes guests know that it's coming. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they know that it's coming, but they don't know when. Let's see how much fun we can have when I ask you. I've seen you dress up a bit at cons when taking photos, such as at Cosplay World Richmond. You kind of dressed up just a little bit, but you made a comment to me about how you usually don't. And I don't know the extent of your personal cosplay background. I know you said you're a big Halloween fan. If it exists, I'm not quite sure, but regardless, do you have, even if hypothetically, and never came to fruition, any cosplays you've ever thought about or would love to tackle and become yourself?
So yes, I do have one. I don't know if you ever seen the Mythos Obi-Wan Kenobi that is in the full clone, clone armor.
Yes, yeah.
I want to do that one. However, though, I will not be able to make the armor. I will have to commission that out, because I am not crafty like that.
Yeah, tell me about it. Me neither.
So they will get full credit for the build, but that's the only one that's on my list, is the Mythos Obi-Wan. Mm-hmm.
Interesting. I love it.
I'll just have to grow the hair out again. This is not my normal hairstyle. I'm usually a lot shorter than this.
Well, you look good, man. You look good. You mentioned that you were a film fan. You shoot a lot of cosplay stuff, comic stuff. So let's see if you have an answer for this one, man. Out of these Batmen, you've got Keaton, Bale, Affleck, Pattinson. You can only choose one, and the rest and their universe cease to exist. Who do you pick?
Oh, that's a tough one. I'm gonna go with. We're gonna keep Keaton.
Keaton, you can't go wrong with the classic, man. You can't go wrong.
I grew up on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
100%, man, 100%. The X-Men are kind of a hot topic right now, especially with the X-Men 97 animation that just came out not long ago. And then X-Men are running around in conversations because they're on their way to the MCU, especially with Deadpool and Wolverine coming out as well. So I have a question for you then. I'm curious, what are some things that you would like to see in the MCU when the X-Men make their debut in film? Maybe it's mutants that you want to be focused on. Maybe it's villains that you would love to see portrayed. Maybe it's something that you hope Disney, has learned from in their past, whether that be good or bad. Like, what are some things that you would like from the MCU's version of the X-Men, if you have any?
That's gonna be. I just gonna be tough for them to introduce them.
I think so.
But I don't think we need stories.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think somehow you got to figure it out that, they've been around. We just haven't known they've been around type thing. You know what I mean?
I think so too. Yeah.
I mean, because we don't need to go back and tell the origin stories of all of them again. I mean, if you've been around, you see their origin story. So
exactly.
Maybe they could do flashbacks occasionally to build on something that's happening.
Right. Yeah.
But I just think personally, I think they just needed to keep it grounded. I mean, like, I'm not going to ruin it, but the animated series, X-Men 97 was so great because to me, it felt really grounded and the storylines were good. So I think they need to kind of take those lessons learned and apply them to the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you. I agree with you
itself. You know what I mean?
I like how too in the animation, like it was focused on the X-Men. Yeah. Man, I feel like it's been long enough. I'm going to spoiler alert. If you don't want to hear anything if you don't want to hear anything about X-Men animated, skip a few seconds here. Probably I'm going to say maybe like 20 to 30 seconds skip. They focused on the X-Men because it's the X-Men. I like how, at the end, there was, little things, nods to Spider-Man, to Black Panther, to Captain America, to Iron Man, to things there, but they weren't the focus at all. The Avengers weren't the focus. Nobody else was the focus. It was still an X-Men story. And I think, personally, for me, that's something that I want from the MCU. I don't mind it. It's going to exist in the MCU, so I get it. But I want a good X-Men story. I want a good X-Men story. And I understand that they do have to tie it in because it's living in this universe. I'm all for that. But I still I hope that they focus on the X-Men, I hope it's more focused on the X-Men as a team. That's what I personally want.
Exactly. And I don't think they need a big level baddie like Apocalypse in the first movie. You know what I mean?
No, I agree. Build that up.
We don't need build up. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And like you put a good point. Let's start the series out or whatever.
Yeah.
As that team building movie where they're still learning how to work with each other. And, but and then, the bad guys are maybe members of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, but we don't get Magneto until at the very end we get the after credits and then Magneto's something like that.
Right.
You know what I
mean? Something. I want a good grounded X-Men story for sure, man. Last question. If you could time travel to any time period, any era, where would you go and why? And you can have up to 3 different choices if you so need.
I never really thought about time travel, honestly. I would like to go, obviously, to the future. No place particular. Just whenever I die in the next whatever, something. Just say I've been there and seen it. You know what
it's like. Yeah.
Exactly. I would like to go back to areas that have grown up so big. Like I live in the Fredericksburg area. I wouldn't mind going back to the like maybe what. 45 years earlier to see, man, this used to be all farmland back in the day.
Yes. You know what I mean? Yeah, that kind of stuff interests me too, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, go see like historical sites that aren't there anymore. You know what I mean?
Right.
Stuff like that. So no particular time, just
interesting.
Be able to say, let me go check out this ruins that or not ruins at that time. So
exactly. Interesting, man. Interesting. I like that.
And then bring a camera to take photos of it.
Exactly, right? Exactly, man. Well, that was shotgun questions. Wow. Like I said a bit ago here, I got the opportunity to work with you, to shoot with you, man. And during Cosplay World Richmond, and I got to see your setup, and you kind of your setup at cons. It's kind of similar to what we discussed a little bit ago, and if not exactly the same with these options and all that you have, and I'm sure you have, and I believe I've seen pre-booking available, but then you also have those set options, whether it be for photography or for edits, available for everyone to see at the con itself, with the pricing, with the, option A, option B, option C, and so on and so forth. And then the way that you have your equipment set up as well with like this display. So when you're getting photos taken, you can look over and you can see yourself. And I'd rather have you just kind of fully explain it, man, the way that you have your setup set up at conventions and how you go about your con work from pre-booking to in the moment, your process and how it all goes, what people get, what people can get, how they can see themselves during the shots and so on and so forth. Like, what's the Bryant Cox experience at conventions?
Yeah, gotcha. I have basically 2 types of experiences. The first one, which I'll go in more detail, was what you saw at Cosplay World, which is the vendor booth experience. But then the other one is the shooting at a con, where I'm not set up as a vendor. And those were like bigger ones, like Katsucon, which is a huge anime convention out here in the DC area, and MagFest. And that's where I do the pre-bookings, where they book me, they pick a date, a time slot, and then I meet them. We shoot for 20 minutes, and then then after we shoot, I give them their raw files to look at on online gallery, and then they pick their favorites that's included in the package. And
that's behind the black backdrop, or is that like anywhere they want?
That's on Steam.
Okay.
And the lobby. So that's the booking ones. Gotcha. I usually do only 2 to 4 shows like that a year for the actual shooting at a con.
Yeah.
The majority of my work I do is the vendor booth. That one's no appointments necessary. It's a walk-up basis.
Okay.
The biggest difference is we're basically, I call it the one and done method, is ultimately we're trying to get one photo.
Yeah.
That's what you're paying for usually. Yeah. Some people add on additional poses, or they have, we want to do a group and individuals. So they could add stuff on, but it's ultimately to get that one great shot.
Yeah.
So I talked to them about the options, like, hey, how fancy do we want to get this? Do you want to just keep it simple with a black background, or you want a full composite where you get the whole kit and caboodle?
Yeah.
And then once they tell me, then if they're doing a composite, I talk to them about what they want in their composite, and then I get them all set up. I use pretty even lighting for my setup, just because I'm trying to get as many people in there as possible.
Yeah.
Because people don't like waiting around. So if I'm taking too long with moving lights around, then they're going to walk away, and
I know what that's like. Yeah.
So I just keep the lighting simple. I got 2 kicker lights in the back and 2 lights in the front for my main, and I can turn them off and on from my camera if I want to. So if I want to try to go more dramatic, and then my next idea is I'm switching out the back kicker lights to mag strips, so I can add color gels on scene to change the lighting.
Yeah.
In there.
Nice.
You know how it is. Camera equipment's not cheap, so you got to buy a little bit of time.
Yeah, not at all.
So once they step into the booth, my method is every single cosplay character that there is. So, I mean, if it's something I know, I know, but sometimes I don't. So my thing is I tell them, I'm okay, how would your character pose for a photo?
Right.
So I let them try to get their pose that they want, and then I modify it to make sure it looks good for the camera.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Sometimes if their pose is not working out, then I'm like, well, let's try this. And, I try to suggest something different.
Yeah.
So then I take the shot, and I'm tethered to a computer, so it pops up on my computer screen. And then they look at it and they either say, yep, that's awesome, or, I blinked, or I don't like how I smiled in this one, or can I do this? Well, I'll take another one. And then let them see that one. And that way, before they leave my booth, they're at least 100% happy of the raw photo itself before any edits.
Right. It's interesting. I love that.
And then after the con's over, I get home and then back everything up. And then typically it takes me up to 4 weeks to get all the editing done.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot. Yeah. There's a lot. A lot of people.
If it's not a huge show. Yeah. Because I've done Awesome Con and Galaxy Con this year, which were pretty good size shows.
Yeah.
Tidewater, which is down in Virginia Beach, and then Cosplay World. And just those 4 cons, I think I photographed probably over 500 people in just those 4 cons.
Yeah. Wow.
So
that's a lot of photos, a lot of work.
And I'm the only guy. I'm the only guy editing. So
yeah, exactly.
Everybody, please be patient with me.
You have this. I saw it at the con. You have like when you're walking into your booth, and even just by your booth on the outside, you have like this sheet, this paper that has like everything laid out, like prices and options and everything. People are able to choose that in the moment as well, right?
Yeah. So that's how it works. Is they go up there, they look at the pricing and say, okay, I want option B, and then option B is a pre-made. So I'm like, well, which background do you want? And then I go to the other side of my booth and look at the background and choose.
Nice.
Everything that is included in the pricing is what I call a social media file. So for online use, if they want to be able to print it, then they have to purchase a high res. Right. And I also offer metal prints. So if people want to get a metal print of their so
that's totally cool.
Which is weird because I've been doing metal prints for the last 2.5 years, almost 3 years, and they really haven't been that big of a thing. But this year, I think I've sold 10 of them at least already this year.
I think it's a great idea. I've seen like metal prints and whatnot, but I'm not quite sure that I can think of, at least off the top of my head right now, I'm not quite sure I've seen like a photographer doing metal prints of like cosplayers. You know what I mean? Like printing, like you can get a metal print of yourself. I don't know if it exists. I have no idea. Forgive me if anybody's watching right now and they're like, I do that. I do it every year. You know what I mean? Like, but I personally have never seen it.
Because I saw all these metal prints that another vendor was doing, and I was like, huh, that metal looks kind of cool, especially if the photo has a lot of highlights in it with, power effects.
Yeah.
So I was like, so I reached out to the vendor. I'm like, would you guys be able to print my cosplay photos? So we worked the deal out, and they're like, yeah, sure, we can do that for you. Did a couple of test prints, and I was like, all right, we'll just add it as an option. Yeah. Instead of just doing a regular print. I mean, anybody can go to a store and get a regular print, but
that's totally cool.
I got a metal print. This is cool.
Yeah, something different. I dig that, man. I dig it. I when it comes to like your photography work yourself, you're no stranger to different aspects, from different locations to different styles, especially working with cosplayers. There's so many different types of cosplays that may require something different photography wise and or editing wise to bring the cosplay to life that much more. And I'm just randomly curious, as everyone has things that they favor more, especially something that you may do yourself. What do you find yourself leaning more towards when it comes to shooting on location at like maybe a physical urban street setting, for example, or maybe it's these more in studio type of vibes, at Studio G over there, with the black backdrops, maybe even whether it be at Studio G or whether it be at conventions. What type of shots do you prefer yourself? And then also when it comes to the editing, do you personally prefer, in camera work more, light editing, heavy editing? Like, what are your personal preferences as a photographer?
Yeah. So I honestly really love doing location shoots. It just hard to do them because I'm so busy. And a lot of the cosplayers in the area see me at cons. So I don't really do too many shoots outside of cons. As paid shoots. However, though, I do run the Central Virginia Cosplay and Photographer Meetup Group. In our area here, and I try to have a meetup 4 to 5 times a year, and it's always at a location. So I especially if that cosplay fits that location, then it's awesome. But I'm a big light guy, so just like you mentioned, Jeff, he tries to get it how he wants it in the camera. Same thing with me. I'll get it all set up. I'll meter for the ambient light, and then I'll add 1 to 5 flashes, depending on how creative I'm getting with my lighting. And then get it dialed in before I get that cosplayer to start posing. And then once I got my lighting, then all right, and then boom, let's knock out the poses. So that way, when I get home, there's very minimal editing I have to do in the actual photo itself. Just some minor stuff. Because you always see the photographers that do raw edited, with a little.
Yeah, exactly.
If you do Bide, you're not going to see too much of a difference. You know what I mean? So maybe just a little bit more pop of color and contrast, but the overall going to be how I saw it in the camera itself.
Nice.
And that's my biggest suggestion to new photographers is learn how to get it right in the camera. Yeah. And don't rely on doing it afterwards.
Interesting. Yeah.
The more you sit at the computer, the less you're shooting.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, man.
But unfortunately, I sit at the computer a lot because I do composite work. But that's a different piece.
A little give and take here.
But yeah, definitely location shoots is my preferred if I have that opportunity. So.
Yeah. 100%, man. That's really cool, dude. We are going to get ready to wrap up and get out of here. I want to ask you though, like, what does the future hold for Bryant Cox Photography, or even just you as a person? Do you have anything else? Any other ventures that you're hoping to, lead into? Do you have something on your mind that you want? The next step for your photography, or you just want to keep hitting more conventions, or maybe there's a convention you've never worked that you look forward to. Like, what does the future hold for you in your mind right now?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, as being only one person, it's hard to grow too much because I am only one person, so I can't go everywhere, which I would love to. But the growth would be to kind of make maybe a small little team to help me out, especially at bigger shows. I need someone to help, so maybe just get a small team to help with running the front of the booth. Maybe someone that could do just basic stuff for me editing wise. Because obviously they're paying for me to do the editing, but cutting someone out of the background, pay someone to do that, to help me get more efficient to grow. What I would like to start doing also is doing celebrity photo ops.
Nice.
At these smaller cons. So basically have a team, have another photographer, which I'm actually doing this for the first time this year at Haunted Screams Expo. It's a horror show. So I'm going to be purchasing a printer to be able to do that. And then maybe that will allow me to be able to print the basic edits, like the standard photo or the option B. If I have a small team for cosplayers, when they come get a photo, maybe they leave with a small print.
That's really cool.
Because I get asked that all the time. What? I don't get a print. I don't get a photo today. I'm like, I'm only myself, man. I'm like,
that's an insane question though. Like I don't understand that. We kind of talked about that when we were at Cosplay World Richmond too. And it's like, you see everything that I'm doing right now, right? Like, you want me to sit down, edit this and print it right now? You know?
Like Awesome Con, I had 15 people deep once in my line.
That's crazy.
You know, I'm not going to stop and edit a photo.
Yeah.
So you get, I mean, I would love to, but I just physically can't. So
yeah, it's just not possible.
But yeah, just growing, you know, try to, you know, I'm going to support as many of the small local cons here as I can.
Yeah.
The only other con that I'm really eyeballing right now is GalaxyCon in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Nice.
Because it's just close enough for me to go, and it's one of those bigger cons that I know I would have a lot of fun doing, and you know, shoot a lot of people. So, or photograph. Sorry, my kid tells me don't tell people I shoot people. So.
I know, right?
Photograph people.
That's awesome, though, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, there's always shows that I'm like, oh, I wish I could do that show, but you know, having a family, it's kind of hard to do shows outside of the state. You know, especially during the school year, you know, because
100%.
My family likes to travel with me, and they like to stay at the hotel while I'm working all day.
Oh, nice. I didn't know that. That's really cool. That's cool. Before we wrap up, I want to give the floor to you to say whatever it is that's on your mind, and maybe plug, you know, where you're going to be, next cons you got coming up the rest of the year, and basically just anything that's on your mind. The last few seconds here are yours, man. I'm not going to plug any cons because I got too many. I think I still got like 15 more cons to go the rest of the year. Oh my God.
If you go to my website, BryantCoxPhotography.com, and go to the cosplay tab, and then under the vendor booth, it has a list of every single con I'm going to be at. So you can figure out my schedule. And as the next year comes around, I start putting the next year's cons on there. So
nice. Yeah.
That way people can find me, because it's amazing me how many times people after the fact, oh, you were at GalaxyCon or you were at AwesomeCon, I didn't even see you.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's hard to see everything on Instagram, but I post quite often when I'm going to be somewhere.
Exactly. So, yeah.
You know what I mean? But I'm like, sure. But it's hard for me to see everybody because my back's turned, and I miss so many cosplayers when I'm working that I do the same thing. I'm like, oh man, you were there. I'm like, oh man, I missed you.
People are coming and going. You're working, and people are just going and going. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. My biggest thing is, you know, I know everybody says cosplays for everyone, but I'm really true to that. I don't turn anybody away from my booth, no matter, you know, who you are, what age you are. You know, I photograph all types of people, you know what I mean? The best that I get all the time is when I photograph a kid that's dressed up, even if it's just a store-bought costume, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then mom pays a little extra and does the little edits on them. And then when I send them their photo, like, oh my God, this is so awesome.
Yeah, they freak out.
It's always great. You know what I mean? Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
And then I get older cosplayers, which is great. You know, they just dress up for fun. But they're like, what's this? And I'm like, I do cosplay. Oh, let's do it. You know what I mean? And I would say, I mean, how many, but I've been in a lot of people's first professional cosplay photo. And that's because of the availability of me being at that con that they just happened to go to, and having that studio there at a decent price point that they say, sure, why not? I'll get a professional photo done.
That's cool.
And what I hope that does is either they're just starting out, and hopefully that gives them a little bit more inspiration to continue doing it, so they don't get discouraged, because they're like, oh man, I look freaking awesome in this photo. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because you know, the cosplay community can be a little harsh sometimes with criticisms 100%. And, you know, how people talk to each other, and, you know, having that vessel of being able to provide those photos for all types of people is something I really take pride in, and, you know, try to capture their work no matter what level it's at. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%, man. Ladies and gentlemen, Bryant Cox Photography, thank you for coming, man. It's been awesome, dude. I'm glad that we got to talk a little bit more, and I'm glad I got to work with you as well. And just a great time, man. Always welcome you back. We'll let some time go by, let some things happen, and maybe we'll have more to talk about again one time in the future, man. Like I said, it's been great having you here. Everybody go follow, if you're not, Bryant Cox Photography, spelled exactly how it sounds, on Instagram. And for everybody tuning in, thank you for watching, for liking, for commenting, for sharing, for for doing all of those beautiful things that you do over on youtube.com/side project podcast. When you go down, you hit that big red subscribe button. And when you hit it, it goes, oh, and you get 100 sexy project points. Thank you for following and rating and watching on Spotify, as videos are available on Spotify as well. You know, when you do, I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. If you're looking for me, you can find me on Instagram at IGHatesChazzy. That is my personal. And if you're looking for the podcast as a whole, you can find it on Instagram at Side Project Podcast. Remember, that's Project with a K. For me, for Bryant, I'm going to get up out of here because I might, hopefully, episodes are bi-weekly, by the way. Hopefully I'll be here next episode because I might be unalived due to heat stroke. For me, for Brian, we are out of here.